Welcome to this edition of In-Depth Alaska. I'm Tracy Sinclair. Alev Kelter, bronze medalist with the U.S. rugby team at the Olympics in Paris, stopped by the station here at Alaska's News Source. We spent some time with her talking about what happened and what's next.
Great to have you here, Alev. First of all, you're coming back. You just came back to Alaska just recently?
Last night.
Oh, last night?
Yeah.
So you were in Paris about a month ago for the Olympics, and where have you been since then?
So after Paris, I actually had my best friend's wedding in the Italian Alps, and I was their officiate. So it was right after we won. 2 days later, I proposed to my girlfriend, and then 2 days later after that, I went and did my friend's wedding in Italy, and then flew back home before closing ceremony, back to Paris for closing ceremony, and then California, which is where our residency is where we live, in San Diego, and then from San Diego last night to Alaska.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, you've been in a lot of different places.
All over.
It's been quite a summer. Is this how do you describe the summer in general? It's probably one of the summers of your life, I bet.
Yeah, I always say definitely one to remember, but historic is the word that comes to my mind. And this is the first time in program history for rugby that rugby sevens that we're bringing home any medal, men's or women's. So we're just so grateful for that opportunity and those historic moments and record-breaking moments in Paris. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want you to take us back to that moment and those moments that you won it. Take us through the bronze medal game, and because it was an exciting finish. I mean,
yes.
Start there.
Yeah, I mean, we did an amazing job in pool play. I mean, we were shy of going 3-0. We lost to France in France, so that was okay. And actually, I think it was a record-breaking crowd against France in pool play. I think it was 66,000 people that showed up to watch just the women play, which is unreal. And that stadium was electric. But the next day, we played in pool play. In knockout, we played Great Britain, and that was a mulligan from Tokyo where we lost to them in the quarterfinal, and so that was also a historic moment. We never had made it past the quarterfinals in the Olympic Games. So the next game was New Zealand. We lost to New Zealand and then had a chance to play for a bronze medal against Australia, who were the number one seed and the favorites, gold medal favorites going into the Olympics. So we knew we had a tough game ahead of us. It was tied at halftime, and then second half, I switched from prop to center, which a lot of people, if you don't know rugby, usually you're just a prop or you're just a center, and so having that flexibility and that versatility was really awesome for our team. So Malone Amar switched me at prop. I got the pass back and scored and brought the team ahead, and then obviously they tied it up after with like a minute left in the game, and then Spiff Cedric did a little shimmy shake, fended off one of the Australians, and ran about 96 meters down to score our bronze medal winning match.
It was like a walk-off, basically.
Yeah, it was unreal. So, and then we didn't have any kickers on the pitch because we decided to go all of our speed on the pitch. And so actually Spiff turned around and converted her own kick, which is also unheard of. So lots of firsts that were happening that night.
She'd never done that before, kicked it, or?
She had never done it in, I think, the USA jersey. So
that's awesome.
And what a way to go. So
can you take us back and just remember that emotion? What was going through your brain when that happened?
Well, the first part that I was thinking is the game's not over. It's tied up at this point. It's tied up and there's zero time on the clock. So it's like before you celebrate, you want to make sure you've won it and you're there until that final whistle blows, because there's a lot that can happen in stoppage time. So at that point, we're trying to celebrate. I think we're like busting with joy inside, but everyone is like serious, like, okay, like let's be quiet, let's give Spiff a time, like to make this kick. And then once the kick, I just remember jumping over like a 3-foot barrier and just running onto the field and just celebrating, jumping on Naya Tapper, who was our captain, and it's her last game ever playing rugby because she retired after that. So just falling to my knees, actually, just being so grateful that I was like sobbing and realizing that like this historic moment is going to be, obviously it should be in every history book, but for us, this is what we dreamed of, and the dream started here in Alaska. You know, it's been you know, from a ton of different sports through my youth to then focusing on, you know, ice hockey, soccer in college, and then now rugby after I transitioned from college. So yeah, it was a dream come true.
Absolutely. And standing on the podium, I know usually any gold medal winners get their national anthem played.
Yep.
They didn't play all three, right?
No, just New Zealand.
But nevertheless, I mean, I think, did they have the podium with all three teams?
All three teams, yeah. So
did you have a moment to kind of soak it in at that time?
I think when we were walking out after we put our podium gear on, and that's actually something that was really kind of unique, was bringing our podium gear. Because you have the podium gear anticipating that you're going to get a medal, but I think the bronze medal is really the hardest to get, because you're in the gold medal, or you're getting a medal. So you're bringing that, where you're walking into, and it gives me chills, but you're walking in, and that it signifies something. Like, you're gonna, you know, like, put yourself out there, and you might not get it. And I think that that's what's so beautiful about this team, is that we talked about love, and we talked about heartbreak, and we talked about doing things we love. And how if it doesn't go the way you want it to, or you know, there's heartbreak. And so why not put ourselves out there, even though there could be heartbreak at the end of this, just because we want to be proud of ourselves. We want to have that pride and that tenacity to go for something that has never been done before.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, but I think that, go back to your question about the podium. So putting on the podium gear after winning that was just like, this has come to fruition. I think started to like really get emotional, because you're with now all of your teammates, and you're sweaty, and you're trying to put these like sweatpants on, and you know, it's like really, you know, Nike's done a great job, but it's hot in Paris, and we're in like long sweats, you know, and we're putting this on, and we're still like elated, like you can't, and so like walking out, you're like seeing your family, you're seeing like 70,000 people in a full stadium, like knowing that you just made history is unreal.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, there's not really words I just remember we bowed 3 times. I think you're supposed to just bow once. We bowed 3 times, and we like come up, we're like, after that third bow, like looking at, like there's 60 people from in the Golden Eagles box supporting USA, and then like everyone's chanting USA. Yeah, it's just unreal.
How about the reception you got? And did you get a reception in the airport, I understand?
Yeah, the night I came, or?
Yeah, what was it, last night, right?
Last night, yeah. The reception at the airport was a surprise to me. I'm obviously traveling in Carhartts and Micro Tufts, and you know.
True Alaska
yeah,
style.
like just a flannel, right? So, but I came down the stairs after the escalator, and there's USA chanting USA, and it was like 12 or 13 different signs, all having like funny puns from rugby to the Olympics, and you know, joking about TSA, you know, stopping me for my medal, which they did, and it's super cool to pull out and say, oh, sorry, did this just ring the alarm?
Yeah.
Oh, this?
Oh, this thing, yeah.
Oh, this thing? Yeah, no, it was a really touching moment, but also just an intimate moment just with some rugby players that have had an impact in my life.
Absolutely. And again, growing up here in Alaska, take us through just kind of like, are you surprised you got to this level having grown up here? And then do you feel like there's a strong future in the sport here in Alaska for younger kids who want to be in the sport?
Absolutely. I mean, the ethos of rugby is integrity, is inclusivity. You know, it's grit, it's toughness, and I think all of those things are what Alaska embodies, especially the community that I grew up in. You know, we're strong and we're tough, and we know how to weather all types of different storms. And you need to do that in every rugby match. There's 1,000 different opportunities to take, but the team that's going to support each other the best and be the most cohesive is the team that's going to win. And I think that, you know, growing up in Alaska, teamwork is, you know, it's cliche, but it is the dream work, you know, and we know how to, you know, whether it's shoveling other people's driveways, or, you know, doing fundraisers, or selling, you know, raffle tickets at games to help with, you know, fundraising. It all helps you understand and appreciate the finer details, and those finer details are what separate you from fourth and third, and, you know, second and first. And so I'm not surprised that this medal has come back home, but I am so grateful that you know, I can come back to celebrate such an amazing opportunity, and celebrate it with everyone.
Yeah. And here in Alaska, I mean, there's, I know, a number of facilities, but I think, when I think of rugby here, especially in the Anchorage area, there's that amazing pitch down in South Anchorage, up on the hillside. I think I'm sure you've spent your shared time there. Talk about the facilities and also just kind of like where younger folks can go if they want to be in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you Google USA Rugby, find a local club near you, especially in Alaska. The Arctic Foxes are here. We have a lot of teams that play all over Anchorage, at the Park Strip, at Delaney Park Strip, downtown. There's a rugby pitch that's up, at all hours of the night to go out and play. But I would definitely say like the Alaska Mountain Rugby Grounds, Justin Green and his team and what they've built up there, Alaska Youth Rugby now hosts that pitch. It's definitely a field of dreams kind of thing. If you build it, they will come. And when Justin built it, he actually hosted our national team in 2014, right before the 2016 Olympics in Rio. And that was an unbelievable experience to get all of my teammates to go out fishing. We shot. I think we shot skeet. It was like a pretty cool experience for my teammates who have maybe never held a gun or maybe have never have fished before to get some opportunities to experience what it's like in Alaska.
Yeah. A few more things before you go. You talked about. we've talked about how great a moment winning bronze in Paris was. And you mentioned, having a friend's wedding in the Alps, right? Such a setting, I'm sure that was. I want to ask you about this other big moment in Paris, proposing to your girlfriend, right?
Yes.
You came home. It sounds like you went there with a ring, came home with a medal, but either way, kind of talk about that moment.
Yeah, I had a hardware to give away and then a hardware to receive. So
exactly.
No, I'm just grateful for both. But I had that planned, and actually my roommate at the time, Steph, she was also planning to propose to her girlfriend in Italy, and so the whole months leading before, we were just riffing to each other. Okay, what is this? How does this sound like? She's like, that's too many items, too many things. I'm like, okay, what about this? And where should we go? And is it the Louvre or is it the Modern Art Museum? And then, so I ended up choosing the Modern Art Museum, and that's where she was living in England. She's actually Alaskan. We lived 10 miles from each other. She lived in Anchorage, and obviously, and I lived in Eagle River, and we met in New Zealand playing rugby on the national team at the World Cup in New Zealand a couple years ago. So it was a bit providential, I think, just also coming home with her and having her family be here still. She's the second oldest of 10. So
wow.
There's a lot of we're gonna transition that family to a rugby family. I think her older sister and her younger sister below her are starting to play. They play for the Arctic Foxes, and so it was an unbelievable experience. But yeah, the Modern Art Museum, the art, the history, the rugby, I was just in the city of love.
Yeah,
so
exactly. It
sounds
like the venue was perfect where it happened. I
beautiful.
saw that there was a video. It looks like your sister, right, Daria?
Daria's my twin sister's doing a hand back, like a stick, like you're running track, of the ring, and it's actually the biggest painting, the largest painting in the world, and it's by Dufay, and it's 250 panels, and it's a beautiful 360 piece. And that when you're in there, it's just like you're in awe. And so at first, when I went in, I was like, I don't know if she likes it. I don't know if she likes this type, because she was just very quiet. And we went and we read about it, and I talked to her a little bit about the panel, the pieces, and then she's like, I love it. And I was like, okay. So at first I had to go hand it back to my sister, do it twice, and then anyway, it ended up working out. And there's a beautiful video. Haimana is a famous skateboarder for Team USA. And he's used to shooting just, outside recreationally. Oh, okay. And actually, he was the one I asked him if he would be able to be free to shoot the engagement photos and to shoot the video. So he looked like he was just in there looking around at the art and then got everything on video. So gotcha. Haimana did a beautiful video on my Instagram. I'm so grateful for him too.
It seemed like the perfect moment. So.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And last but not least, maybe see you in LA in 4 years?
Yeah, that's the dream. Playing on home soil, it doesn't come by often. So for me to, my body's 33 years young, yeah. And I'm pretty newer. Well, I'm about 12 years into my rugby journey. For some, that's new. But I think LA 2028 would be a dream. Yeah, and I'm excited to go for that. I'll transition over to 15s rugby. There's a World Cup in England next year. So the two, Catherine and I, are going to go play for Loughborough Lightning in England this next season. And then we'll gear up for the World Cup and then look to transition with 2 years left back to sevens and give that a shot.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
Absolutely.
We'd like to thank Alev for sitting down with us once again. Thanks for listening to In Depth Alaska. Please like and subscribe to this podcast.